the room is quiet, oppressively so. Curtains drawn, books removed, paper and pen confiscated. On the bed lies a woman forbidden to speak, read, or even feed herself. The physician's orders are absolute, total rest, isolation, and obedience. This is the rest cure, a treatment that dominated late 19th century medicine, especially for women diagnosed with hysteria, nervousness, or postpartum depression. While touted as a miracle of modern psychiatry, it often left patients broken, despairing, and traumatized, a cure that was worse than the illness. The rest cure was developed in the 1870s by American neurologist Dr. Silas Weir Mitchell, at a time when medicine knew little about mental health. Mitchell believed nervous disorders stemmed from exhaustion of the body and mind. His solution was radical: enforce complete rest. Patients, especially women, were confined to bed for weeks or months, cut off from all stimulation. They were not allowed to read, write, or engage in conversation. Even simple acts like feeding themselves were forbidden, with nurses spooning food into their mouths to encourage passivity. The treatment was profoundly gendered. Men with nervous conditions were more likely to be prescribed activity, travel, or intellectual work. Women, on the other hand, were prescribed stillness and silence. The logic reflected Victorian ideas about femininity. Women were considered fragile, emotional, and unsuited to intellectual strain. The rest cure thus reinforced social norms, keeping women dependent, docile, and excluded from public life under the guise of medical necessity. In practice, the cure often backfired. Patients reported feelings of suffocation and despair. Many sank deeper into depression, their isolation intensifying rather than relieving their suffering. Some experienced hallucinations, paranoia, or full mental breakdowns. Instead of restoring balance, the enforced boredom stripped them of agency and identity. The psychological toll was devastating. One of the most famous critiques came from writer Charlotte Perkins Gilman, who underwent the rest cure after suffering postpartum depression. Her doctor, Mitchell himself, ordered her into isolation, forbidding her to write a command that cut her off from her creative lifeline. The experience nearly drove her to collapse. She later transformed her ordeal into the short story The Yellow Wallpaper, 1892. A chilling tale of a woman imprisoned in her room until madness consumes her. The story became a feminist classic, exposing the cruelty of a treatment that silenced women under the authority of medicine. Despite such criticisms, the rest cure gained traction among physicians in America and Europe. Wealthy women in particular were subjected to it, their illnesses dismissed as nervous weakness or hysteria. Entire clinics were devoted to the practice, where patients spent months lying in bed, gaining weight from enforced feeding and losing their sense of self. Doctors measured success not in genuine recovery, but in compliance. The patient's submission to rest was taken as proof of cure. By the early 20th century, however, the tide turned. Advances in psychology, the rise of talk therapy, and growing awareness of women's rights all contributed to the rest cure's decline. Critics condemned it as not only ineffective, but harmful. A treatment that ignored the real causes of mental distress, while reinforcing gender inequality. What had once been hailed as progressive medicine was reappraised as a cruel relic of Victorian control. The story of the rest cure reveals much about the intersection of medicine, culture, and power. It shows how treatments can reflect social prejudices as much as scientific knowledge. Women's suffering was medicalized, their autonomy stripped away in the name of care. The cure promised rest, but delivered confinement, promised healing, but brought despair. Today, the rest cure stands as a cautionary tale. Mental health treatments must empower, not silence. They must engage patients as people, not reduce them to passive bodies. The padded prison of the Victorian sick room reminds us how easily medicine can become a tool of oppression when it ignores the voices of those it seeks to heal.